Hello, folks. Welcome back to Horror Channel, and today I'm going to be reviewing another episode of Medium. And today I'm going to be reviewing the 13th episode of the third season called Second Opinion. Second Opinion, indeed. The episode was directed by David Lerner and written by Sterling Anderson, and the episode originally aired on February 21st, 2007. So what's this episode about? What's going on? What's the main plot? Wow, there's so much to tell. So let's get straight into it without further ado. So in this episode, Allison has a very sad dream in which she basically sees her youngest daughter, Marie, getting sick. And what happens is that her daughter might die of leukemia. So basically, after having this dream, Allison is pretty upset, pretty shaken up. So she decides to get her youngest daughter, Marie. She decides to take her to the doctor and try and get her tested for leukemia, as she's afraid that she might get sick in the future, and in order to avoid that, she decides to basically to nip it in the bud and to basically try her level best to save her youngest daughter. But then something happens, and it has to do with a teddy bear, which happens to be Marie's teddy bear. She named him Mr. Snooky. And what happens is that there's something relevant to this teddy bear, and that something is going to happen in a way. So basically, Allison is going to be convinced that her dream is in fact going to happen if she doesn't do something. So basically, she finds out after this thing happens with Mr. Snooky that they're not out of the woods yet. So she decides to basically change the future, and in order to do that, she ends up finding out about a housing dev- a housing development. And this housing development is basically might be the answer, and it's called something like Willow Creek, I believe. And basically, she then decides that maybe the best thing to do is to move out of the house and into that new housing development, and that this housing development might be the answer to this problem, right, that they're facing. So yeah, basically they decide that it's time to sell the house and move to that new place, as it will be safe, because she believes that whatever makes Marie sick might have to do with the house they're living in at the moment, the house that they're currently living in. So basically, she's gonna be going to that place, and well, there's something to it, but I don't want to spoil the episode or anything. But basically, this housing development might not be such a good idea after all. And leaving the house is going to be difficult for them too, especially for Joe. Joe is kind of, in this episode, he's kind of skeptical, and he doesn't really believe Allison, and he believes that she's jumping the gun, and that she shouldn't be acting in such a hasty way, and that there are many things to consider. But yeah, this is basically how it is, right? Meanwhile, Lee Scanlon, who is basically a former druggie, a former addict, is basically sponsoring an addict and a recovering addict. And basically, when he doesn't show up to the meeting, which is basically about those meetings where people who have issues with drugs would go and basically speak and say something about themselves, like I've been sober for that amount of time. You get the picture. He's not going to show up at the meeting, so Lee is going to get a little worried about it, and he's going to try and find out about this man, and well, he's going to make a shocking discovery, and he's going to be talking to his roommate, I believe, his the not like roommate, more like his teammate, and as they were working in something that has to do with rats and stuff like this. It's like medical school, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, yeah, they were team buddies. They were lab partners. I believe that's the term, lab partners. And he's going to be asking him. And curiously enough, this character named David Channing is going to be somehow related to Allison's dream at the hospital, in which she's basically going to find out about her daughter Marie, her daughter's condition and how bad it is and so on. And she's not going to find out about it, but she's going to be basically by her side as she's basically dying, right? And basically this David Channing might be related. And also Albert Bunford, who's basically in charge of the housing development. Basically, Albert Bunford might have something to do with it too. The guy in charge of the housing development. And basically, yeah, that's a lot of those are a lot of things to basically investigate, and in order to sort out who is the bad guy, it's going to take some time. But the two cases, Allison's basically the housing development thing, and this guy Lee has been sponsoring, who went missing. They might be related, right? So this is basically it for this episode. So let's move on to the characters without further ado. So basically we have Alan Ruck, who plays Albert Bunford. Then we have Charlie Hofheimer, who plays David Channing. Both of them were my favorite actors in this episode in particular. They did an awesome job. Then we have Tina D. Joseph, who plays Linda Novi. Michael Laskin, who plays Dr. Bundy, the doctor at the beginning who knows Allison, and who's going to help her. He's going to help put her mind at ease, at least for a little while, when it comes to Marie, her daughter. Then we have Kimberly Scott, who's the coroner. Then we have Bundy Curtis Hall, who's Scanlon's friend at the beginning. Then we have Jessica Lindsay, who plays older Ariel. Then we have Alexandra French, who plays older Marie. Then we have Nancy Bell, who plays the saleswoman. Miranda Curbelo plays Marie. Traber Burns plays landlord. And Andy Butterfield plays Skeevy Guy, I believe. So this episode was pretty good because it really made us fear something that might happen, and it reminds us a little bit about death. And at some point, something very interesting is being said about basically cherishing, the present, like cherishing the present, cherishing the present, cherishing being around people while they're here. That's a good message, I believe. Also in this episode, yeah, I'd say that Joe was the wise one in this episode, because he was always trying to basically be the voice of reason. He was trying to get Allison to understand that this is not the right thing to do, that she shouldn't be so hasty. I like that too. There's some tension here and there between the couple, but I think that was good. But yeah, this episode was pretty good, and the investigation about the about Lee's friend was pretty good too, in my opinion. And the housing development plot, there's something that's gonna happen at some point. A big discovery is gonna be made, and there's something involving water. I'll let you find out for yourselves. I thought that was pretty interesting indeed. But yeah, this episode was pretty good. So if I were to rate this episode on a scale from 1 to 10, I believe I'd give it an 8 out of 10. It was pretty good. And there's some funny things. At some point, not Lee, what is his name? Joe says something about a bonfire that was pretty funny in my opinion. You find out for yourselves what it is. And Allison believes that he's mocking her. That was pretty funny. There were a lot of funny scenes in this episode. But yeah, favorite actors in this episode were Alan Rock and Charlie Hofheimer. Really great actors. But yeah, this episode was pretty great. So I'd give it an 8 out of 10. What about you folks? What did you think about this episode? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section down below. I would really love to hear about what you have to say on it. Like I said, 8 out of 10 for me. And let me know about yourselves. In the meantime, folks, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next review. Goodbye. Take care of this whole channel for you, signing off.